Yuji is an adventurer who lives in the village of Fasten with a tamer class. Because tamers are usually a weak class, and Yuji is known for taming slimes, the other adventurers don't think much of him. Even when he completes multiple jobs, his warnings of powerful monsters attacking the village become ignored until a force of 10,000 monsters threaten the village. As the adventurers gather to defend the village, Yuji joins forces with the others and is eventually accepted into their ranks. But his power is eventually revealed as he uses his collection of tamed slimes, along with his wolf companion Proudwolf, and forest spirit Dryad. Yuji sets up a barrier to protect the village. He also uses dragon's fire to defeat the monsters by feeding a dragon bone to one of his slimes. With the help of his other slimes, Yuji captures a member of a cult known as the Blue Moon of Salvation, who was behind the attack. However, the cultist unalives himself after being captured, leaving behind a magical lantern he used to control the monsters. Yuji exhausts himself from using too much magic during the battle, so he goes to the rest as the villagers thank him. However, before the other adventurers can thank or reward him, Yuji slips away. This is because he is greatly affected by his past life as a salaryman in Japan, who was always thanklessly working, and his emotions have therefore become dulled over time. To make sure he doesn't attract too much, he decides to slip away from the village during the night and move on. Yuji goes to the Adventurer Guild in Killia and gets asked to join a party because he's good at tracking. He teams up with Rhodys, who uses knives, Tina, an archer, and Lisa, who fights with a spear. Together, they take a job to find a rock dragon. One night, Yuji dreams of how he got reincarnated into this magical world. When he used to be a regular office worker, he suddenly woke up in the game world as a beginner tamer. This led to his confusion as he was exhausted by work. Through his confusion, he manages to tame some slimes and finds an old sorcerer's hut. In the hut, Yuji takes advantage of the fact that he can learn through the slimes and has his newly tamed army of slimes read through all of the sorcerer's books. This tactic of cheating the system allows Yuji to gain all of the knowledge and skills in the books, allowing him to achieve a second powerful class called Sage in just a few minutes, when this kind of training often takes decades. Later, when he wakes up, the party finds Rhodys is gone. They track him to a bandit camp and discover Rhodys is actually a bandit who traps adventurers to sell them as servants. Yuji freezes the bandit camp in ice, and the girls realize that one of the bandits is Jelios, a notorious bandit and cult member wanted for a big reward. Yuji realizes that the Blue Moon cult was behind the attack in Fasten, and is worried about Jelios' cryptic warning about a future disaster. Yuji keeps tracking the rock dragon along with Tina and Lisa. Suddenly, the moon and sky turn blue, just like the cultists said they would, and a blue dragon shows up. They take shelter in Delight Canyon nearby. When the rock dragon shows up and blocks their path, Yuji, Tina, and Lisa use a strong fire spell with the help of the slimes to burn the earth dragon, leaving only its skeleton behind. They collect the dragon skull and the bounty on Jelios, earning 14 million gold from the guild. Yuji gets called to a meeting with guild chief Rayard and Father Stale from the Grand Cathedral. Stale shares a church legend about a dragon that destroyed a whole continent until a powerful divine person defeated it. The church tried to summon this divine being 30 years ago, but they failed. Still, Rayard orders the guild to attack the dragon the next day. In private, Stale gives Yuji a church relic, the Dagger of Kethais, which enhances magic power. At night, Yuji learns from his slimes that the blue dragon is growing bigger, and he worries about the fate of many adventurers. He makes a tough decision. Yuji and his slimes launch an attack on the dragon. Using a protective barrier spell, Yuji dodges the dragon's attacks. He concentrates his fire magic into the Dagger of Kethais and stabs the dragon in the neck, causing it to explode and die instantly. Despite the dragon being defeated mysteriously, Stale leaves, but Rayard suspects Yuji. Drawing too much attention, Yuji decides to leave for the town of Ricardo, which Tina and Lisa describe as a normal place. Dryad tells Yuji that dead dragons have something called dragon grace. Mushrooms grow around the dragon's corpse, and Dryad uses them to make potions. The red potions boost sage skills, and the blue ones restore depleted magic. While the potions are brewing, Yuji recalls saving Dryad from an unidentified person who drained her forest's magic with a crystal. He gave her a magic transfusion and destroyed the crystal, restoring her forest. Yuji comes across a fog-covered village called the Village of Meshes. The villagers are suspicious but let him go when he assures them he's just lost. As he leaves, the villagers contact an unknown person to tell them their plan to get the dragon grace is unaffected. Yuji reaches Ricardo but finds the landscape covered in strange snow. When Yuji arrives in Ricardo, he discovers the snow is unusual, and the villagers weren't ready for it because they've used up all their firewood. Disappointed that he can't enjoy Ricardo's famous food without cooking fires, Yuji figures out how to dry freshly chopped trees using his slimes, making perfect firewood. The town chef, thankful for the wood, cooks Yuji one of his best dishes as a thank you. Seeing that Ricardo still needs more wood, Yuji helps the local foresters and surprises them by gathering enough wood to last the town for several weeks. As a reward, Yuji gets another meal, but the chef admits it's not his best because monsters are eating the herbs the town needs for its famous dishes. Proudwolf and the slimes help find and defeat the boar-like monsters and discover a crystal orb. It turns out the orb, made from refined dragon grace, is absorbing all the magic in the area and causing the snow. Following other crystals arranged in a circular pattern, Yuji finds the center of the pattern. Despite Dryad's disapproval, he destroys the forest around the center, revealing an old house with a trapdoor leading underground. Yuji finds a huge machine powered by stolen magic from crystal orbs, making dragon grace. The slimes explore and end up in meshes, where everyone is part of the Blue Moon cult. Their leader, Javier, is mad because Yuji damaged the machine while destroying the forest. The slimes secretly take the cult's sacred stuff and treasure. Yuji plans to fight the cultists, but Javier warns about a weapon called Cleansing Flame that would ruin the area if they die, including Ricardo village. So Yuji spares them, but they all commit suicide to trigger the flame. Yuji acts fast, grabs the slimes, and makes a new spell, Total Isolation Barrier, to stop the flame from spreading. The snow melts, and Ricardo villagers praise Yuji as the firewood hero, rewarding him with the chef's best meal since he saved their herb field. The cult's text turn blank except for a list of targets, including Yuji. Meanwhile, 2 assassins with the same list target Yuji next. Following the villagers' advice, Yuji heads to Virginia, known for its monster armor. The assassins tail him to see if he's a threat to the cult. Yuji knows they're there but decides not to confront them to avoid the cult's attention. Instead, he wants to get his name off their list. In Virginia, Yuji pretends to be a poor, foolish drunk. He tries to act like an amateur monster tamer with some bulls, but his warrior skills slip out, revealing his talent with a sword. The assassins are puzzled but think he's just a newbie with some sword skills. They leave to tell their boss about Mesh's destruction. Yuji's slimes overhear them planning to target Father Stale. Not wanting Stale to die, Yuji has his slime freeze the assassins solid with an ice explosion. With the assassins taken care of, Yuji can act normally again. He asks Virginia's top armorer, Jagel, for armor for his slimes. Jagel agrees but mentions a problem with a monster at a nearby volcano. Jagel tells Yuji that he needs a jewel from a rare blue lesser fire dragon to make suitable armor. These dragons live in the volcano, and blue ones are the hardest to find. Yuji discovers from the guild that the only way to defeat them is by cooling their bodies fatally with water from a nearby river guarded by a huge piranha monster. On the journey, Yuji tames red fire slimes to help catch the piranha for a big reward. He also beats several dragons using magic summoned water and collects their jewels. Eventually, his slimes find a blue dragon, which he defeats with ice magic. Back at the guild, Yuji gets rewards for killing 202 dragons, 2 blue ones, and the piranha. With plenty of jewels, Jagel makes armor for the slimes and boosts Proudwolf's speed. However, he warns Yuji that his powerful spells could harm or destroy the armor if used too much. To make even stronger armor, they need a jewel from a true flame dragon, which lives deep in the volcano and rarely shows up. Suddenly, the remaining lesser dragons go crazy from the same cultist spell that caused 10,000 monsters to attack Fasten, and the flame dragon itself emerges from the volcano. The slimes notice 2 men heading toward the fire dragon carrying barrels. They mention they're from a town called Ordarian. They avoid Yuji's trap, showing they're experienced, but Yuji catches them anyway, to avoid interrogation. They commit suicide, confirming they were with the cult. Dryad confirms the barrels hold cursed water, a weaker version of the cursed crystals, likely meant to anger the flame dragon. It starts raining, which angers the fire dragon because it avoids rain during the rainy season to keep its fire going. The terrified villagers leave Virginia while Yuji stays to face the dragon. The dragon is so hot it dries up a river. Yuji uses ice magic to slow it down while damming the river with a barrier. He releases the water when it rises high enough to submerge the giant dragon. But this only makes it angrier, and it tries to destroy Virginia. Yuji has to use his strongest ice spell to freeze the dragon solid, killing it. The slimes grab the dropped flame jewel and find an object near the volcano. Yuji gives the flame jewel to Jagel, who promises to make never-before-seen armor. Yuji discovers the object is a rainmaker, meaning the cult made it rain to anger the dragon on purpose. Yuji arrives at Ordarian and recognizes cult members who mention someone named Walter. Father Stale explains that in his younger days, he established the Blue Moon Church to honor deceased adventurers. Walter joined the church and quickly rose to be Stale's right-hand man. Eventually, Walter and his loyal followers wiped out all other church members except Stale, establishing the cult with the aim of purging the world of sin and corruption, which they see as all of humanity. Through what he believes to be a divine revelation, Stale is convinced that Yuji is the divine emissary destined to defeat Walter. However, Stale doesn't reveal the whole truth about his revelation to Yuji. Walter receives his own divine revelation, believing that if Stale is killed, the emissary will triumph. Stale leaves Ordarian, so Yuji sends his slimes to follow him to a cave where Walter and the other cultists are. Thinking Yuji is the emissary, Stale plans to let Walter kill him so Yuji will ultimately win. However, Stale is suddenly betrayed by his own servant, Johann, who has been in touch with Walter the whole time and knew about Yuji. Yuji arrives just in time to save Stale. Walter puts himself into a machine and fills his body with dragon grace, turning himself into a dragon. Yuji equips Proudwolf and a slime with armor to help them damage part of Walter's body. Walter absorbs grace from his monsters to heal and grow bigger. Yuji uses his slimes to trap Walter in nets and ultimately destroys his body. Before dying, Walter prays for the revelation to start. After Walter's death, his machine activates and absorbs his body, his monsters, and even Johann, summoning a one-eyed man named Sage. Stale reveals the rest of the revelation to Yuji, which says the death of a teacher will lead to the emissary's victory. Stale thought it meant his death would make Yuji win, but it actually meant Walter's death would bring back the original emissary who died centuries ago fighting the original blue dragon. Sage, with magic like Yuji's, tries to kill him and destroys the cave to flee into the sky. Despite a tough fight, Yuji and his slimes can't beat Sage. Sage starts the salvation of the world by activating Rainmaker machines powered by grace, making rain clouds spread grace all over the land, infecting monsters worldwide. The monsters start attacking nearby villages. Sage threatens to bring salvation by destroying the world. The slimes reveal that in every village he's visited, adventurers and citizens have risen to defend their homes, inspired by Yuji. Stale gets a new revelation. When the sun and moon come together, divine judgment will happen. Sage asks why Yuji insists on defending the world, and Yuji simply says he likes the world the way it is. Using his most powerful spell, Divine Judgment, Yuji focuses the spell into the dagger of Ketai's, creating a bright light that eclipses the sun, just as in Stale's revelation. Sage is stabbed with the dagger and destroyed. Even though every village celebrates, Yuji chooses to quietly disappear again. Meanwhile, the remaining cult members disregard Walter's death, and work on a new machine called the Purifier, which will destroy the whole continent, and their final enemy, the Black Dragon of Judgment. Yuji, listening in through his slime, is frustrated that the cult hasn't given up. After getting another reward in a new village, Yuji learns from guild leader Megia that defeating dragons and Sage has made him famous across the continent, and his wish to live quietly is impossible now. And this is all for this video. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.